Our journey begins here, at the Vincent Gap trailhead in the backcountry of the Angeles National Forest, where we hiked down the east fork of the San Gabriel River to Heaton Flats, relishing in times of the past where those who were brave enough called this rugged area home.
Alright, so we're at the trailhead, and I've got a long itinerary for us. Lots to see on this trip. Yeah, I'm going to be like a tour guide, I think, but... I am excited. I'm ready to go. This is going to be so much fun.
Thank you to our chauffeur for driving us out here, dropping us off in the morning.
Have fun.
Gracias.
Wish I was going.
We'll see you in a few days.
See ya. Go.
Yeah.
All right. Have fun.
See
Be
you later.
safe.
Drive safe.
Be safe.
Get a coffee.
I'm gonna get a coffee.
All right, so we got a nice shuttle. Sophie shuttled us all up to Vincent Gap, so we have our car waiting down for us, and we'll be at Heaton Flats in approximately 3 days. So we're at the beginning. It looks beautiful. This is awesome. So we're excited to get going. So here we go. Made it down to Tom Vincent's cabin. It's pretty rad that this cabin's been here since the 1800s and it's in still pretty decent condition. The Forest Service has recently gated it up and added some new support beams inside, but it's still rad. I wish we were able to go inside, but it's doing pretty good for being over 100 years old. So this is pretty cool. And the bugs are just eating us alive. I mean, it is just insane right now. Mosquitoes, flies, gnats, it's crazy. There's bugs everywhere. Our first stop on the trail was Tom Vincent's cabin. Tom Vincent, born in 1838, was a mountain recluse who lived in his cabin to avoid contact with all people in the area. Tom spent his time at his cabin hunting big mountain game, mining for gold, and reading the books Life of Napoleon and Treasure Island one after the other over and over. Old Man Vincent discovered one of Los Angeles' most profitable mines at the time, the Bighorn Mine, which he named after killing a bighorn sheep in the exact area the mine is today. Through the years, the Bighorn Mine changed ownership and was operational until its closure in the 1980s. Today, the mine stands as a skeleton of its former self, attracting underground explorers deep into its tunnels. In the end, Tom Vincent kept the secret of a lifetime until his deathbed in 1926 in a Los Angeles area hospital. While dying, he informed his doctor his real name was Charles Vincent Dougherty and he had been hiding since 1866. While working his gold-producing mining claim in Arizona, he had ran into 3 men that looked like sheriffs rumbling around his cabin and overheard their plans to jump Vincent and his partner for their whole mining claim, while doing away with both of them when they were finished. Vincent and his partner beat them to it with a surprise attack and buried them on the spot, then fled to California to hide. Little did he know, those men weren't sheriffs, and no one ever came looking for Tom or his partner. His reason for confessing, he said, was to make his real name known so he could be buried in LA's National Cemetery for Veterans. He had fought in the Civil War, in the 8th Ohio Infantry, and had even been wounded at Chancellorsville in the Battle of Gettysburg. Tom Vincent got his wish, and he was laid to rest among the other war veterans of Los Angeles. Today, names like Vincent Gap, Vincent Gulch, the Bighorn Mine, and Mine Gulch are all names that have to do with this mountain hermit.
It's an acorn whistle. You just gotta put your fingers like that, lips on the knuckles, and blow. All natural whistle. Like that. And then put your lips on your bottom lip is below your knuckle, your top lip's above your knuckle. Oh, almost.
That's close.
It takes a little practice, but once you know how to do it, you can do it.
First timer.
Oh, yeah.
Bigger one.
Oh,
Hey!
Oh,
That
that's
is
good.
so cool.
Once we got to the bottom of Vincent Gulch, looking up we had beautiful expansive views of the Bighorn Mine and Mount Baden-Powell. Mount Baden-Powell is named after Robert Baden-Powell, the Lieutenant General of the British Army who started the worldwide phenomena of Boy Scouting. Lord Baden-Powell released a book titled Scouting for Boys, which was a manual to teach boys wilderness survival, leadership, and scouting, which was an adaptation from his military manual used to train his soldiers. This mountain, originally named North Baldy, was changed to Mount Baden-Powell in 1931, and in 1954, the Boy Scouts dedicated a plaque on the peak in honor for the chief scout of the world. On our way down the river, we stumbled upon a thrashed glider in the middle of the canyon. The glider crashed on February 6, 1974, carrying 2 individuals who survived. The pilot was none other than Jimmy Webb, a Grammy Award-winning singer and songwriter who wrote songs for The Supremes, Art Garfunkel, and The Fifth Dimension. He also had his songs covered by Frank Sinatra, Waylon Jennings, and Donna Summer. His co-pilot, Henry Diltz, was the official photographer for Woodstock and shot many album covers for the bands such as Neil Young, The Doors, Paul McCartney, Jimi Hendrix, and more. On this flight, they were gliding around shooting video and pictures around the snow-covered mountains for Jimmy Webb's upcoming album cover, when a downdraft sucked the glider downwards into the canyon. Jimmy aimed the glider between 2 trees to sever the wings and avoid a catastrophic crash. Henry sustained a minor cut to the forehead, but they both survived. They then lit up a joint to celebrate their survival and wait for rescue. They were picked up individually by a search helicopter a few hours later after they failed to return to their base camp in the desert. Today, the glider pieces and its history still live in the bottom of the canyon, telling the story of 2 lucky souls who were almost lost their lives.
So we made it a little further past Prairie Fork to the famed apple tree right behind me. I don't know who planted it, but years ago someone planted an apple tree that still produces apples. Derek went down to the river to get some water, to give it some water, a little bit of water to drink, and we're gonna keep on going a couple miles and make camp for the night. But it's pretty freaking rad that there's a random apple tree in the middle of the forest that still produces natural apples with no real water source around it, just from people who come by, give it water from the rain. So it's pretty neat to see.
Is actinolite. Is a mineral that comes down off a Blue Ridge, and it forms these green crystal structures in the rock. This isn't the most beautiful piece, but it's fairly nice. It's related to asbestos, so you don't want to breathe in the dust, but it's kind of cool.
Made it down to our first night's camp. It's about 8 miles down. I think the first 3 to 5 miles had a trail. The rest, it was all just in the creek bed. Got down here, finally got on the river. Derek's panning for gold. Riders fishing in the river. I got to take a nice little dip, craft a beer, so it's been a beautiful first day. Awesome little camp, so can't wait to just settle in, have some drinks, and get ready for tomorrow.
Well, I think it's about 60. I think it's about 60. That whole far side was full of sand. Oh, yeah, we totally filled it with sand. But that area that was full of sand, when I went up there.
Day 2 out here at the East Fork. Woke up at Backpacker Dave's old mining camp out here. Derek used to stay out here too, so we have some of his old mining stuff out here. A beautiful morning. It was a gorgeous night last night. I mean, so calm and quiet with the river behind us. This morning it's already starting to heat up, and we still have about 7 or 8 miles down to the next camp with no trail. So it's going to be a lot of river crossings, a lot of getting eaten alive by bugs. They're already coming out right now. Yeah. Good morning, good breakfast. And
yeah, we got a lot to see today. It's gonna be a fun day. Hopefully we run into some wildlife. But we're definitely gonna see some waterfalls and a cave and a bunch of cool stuff. So I'm excited.
how was the jump?
It was good, a little shallower than we thought, but we made it. It was a sick one. I was the only one to do it. Everyone else was too scared. It was a good one.
All right, finally made it to our second camp. We're right above Iron Fork. So we're gonna call it quits tonight. And then we're gonna head on out tomorrow. We're getting our campsite ready, getting some spots for our tent done, and gonna enjoy the rest of the night.
Made it to the camp, decided to chill some beers, so I brought my fishing rod down there and ended up getting one. Had a little chance at another one, but pretty cool. First time catching a fish on the East Fork San Gabriel.
Right across the range of all here. Old goofy.
woke up this morning and getting ready to go. Wanted to go try to catch one before we leave. Tied on the little shiny lure, and I think we got 2 more this morning. So hopefully catch a couple more as we're walking down the river. Come on in.
Cabin. The roof is collapsing in, but otherwise it's in pretty good shape.
Got something right here.
On day 2, we made it over to the Hobo Hut, which was one of Backpacker Dave's first camps on the river. Backpacker Dave was an interesting character who claimed to have lived up in the East Fork San Gabriel River for over 17 years. Not much info about him exists, except for a couple videos on YouTube where someone encounters him on the trail. He had an initial camp down near Iron Fork below the Stanley Miller mine, but ultimately settled in the upper region of the canyon to avoid any unwanted attention or problems. He mined for gold up and down the canyon and wore a large nugget he found in the river bottom as a necklace. He'd resupply every few weeks up in Wrightwood, then would bunker down at his camp, constantly resupplying his stash points with goodies. He'd also rely on his vegetable garden at his upper camp to supplement his food. Dave left the canyon a few years ago, and his whereabouts are unknown, but since then, Derek has taken over Dave's old upper camp and he's used it for prospecting in the upper regions of the canyon. Dave's trash and supplies are nowhere to be found, and all that remains are remnants of his bear-proof cabin on the bench next to the river, which we saw on day 1. Dave had a tent cabin surrounded by a 5-foot barrier made of branches to prevent bears from entering his home. Backpacker Dave is one of the more recent legendary figures to have lived in this canyon, but now he's just a distant memory of years past. After the Hobo Hut, we headed down Iron Fork to see George Trogdon's old camp. George Trogdon originally came to Iron Fork in 1898 as an agent of the Pacific Light and Power Company to measure water flow for a proposed electric power project. He loved the area so much that he never left. Uncle George was a friendly backcountry woodsman who always welcomed every sportsman and miner who made their way up to Iron Fork. He always kept the bacon grease ready so he could brown a trout to perfection or make a deer steak for any unexpected guests that would stop by. Today, remnants of Mr. Trogdon's stone floor from one of his cabins is still there, and a stone table has been erected inscribed with the year of his passing, 1929. There are reports of Mr. Trogdon being buried right next to his beautiful camp that he loved so much.
It's been a beautiful day down here at the bottom end of the Narrows, getting ready to climb up to the bridge. It's been really interesting seeing all the changes in the canyon. It's been a little while since I've been up here, and things can change in just a year. It's incredible. The alders can grow so quick, and the floods move the rocks around, and where it used to be good crossings, now it's other spots are the best crossings, and so it's just been fun to see all that. And
stopped here for some swimming, some eating, some fishing. The deer flies and horse flies have been absolutely miserable down here. Horrible. I'm just getting eaten alive, just biting left and right. I mean, I can't even stand here and talk without getting like bit all over. But it's been rad. We have a few miles before we get to the bridge to nowhere, and then we're gonna head out and wish we were back here.
Once we made it through the Narrows, which is one of the deepest gorges in Southern California, we finally made it to the bridge to nowhere. Back in the 1920s, Los Angeles County planned to build a highway all the way up the East Fork Canyon to the Mine Gulch Junction and over into Wrightwood. Construction began in 1929 by prison crews who reached the Narrows by the mid-1930s. As they completed the bridge over the Narrows in 1936, they began working on tunneling the road through the mountain. A massive storm approached in March of 1938, wiping out every piece of road below the bridge and flooding all of Southern California in a historic flood. Los Angeles County then decided to abandon the project, leaving the unused pristine bridge in the middle of nowhere. Today, all that remains are pieces of road throughout the canyon and a perfect bridge for bungee jumping. Today the bridge sits on private property, surrounded by a national forest, while Bungee America operates bungee jumping tours on the weekends. On our last few miles down the river to the car, we reflected on all the things we had just seen. It's like a glimpse of the past that's living in the present. This area that got its notoriety from gold discovery in 1854 is still attracting those with gold fever today. It attracts those with a sense of adventure, a sense of exploration. The saga of the East Fork of the San Gabriel can be summed up in just about one word: gold. The precious metal was discovered in the canyon gravels in 1854, and almost overnight, the East Fork became a scene of frenzied activity for the next half century. From forgotten mining towns such as Eldoradoville and legendary figures like Billy Heaton, Twitch Lip Kelly, and One-Eyed Mountain Charlie, this canyon is full of untold stories and history. The East Fork is quiet now, except for the usual weekend hiker and those slim few who've been infected with gold fever, who continue to dig to bedrock for that elusive precious metal as a favorite pastime, just like their predecessors over 100 years ago. This was an interesting trip for more than historical reasons. The scenery here is monumental, on a scale seen nowhere else in the San Gabriels. This is nature in its grandest proportions. Traversing the entire East Fork, we realized it's a place stuck in the past. A place full of history where rugged individuals tried to strike it rich. Mines, historical artifacts, destroyed cabins, graves, gold, and abundant wildlife the East Fork provides. It's a place that sucks you in and doesn't let you leave. Don't ever find yourself in the backcountry of the East Fork. You may never want to come home.